I'm the community lead for Plastic Free Chesterfield, and I set this group up a couple of years ago, and because I was concerned about the issues around plastic waste that we're seeing, and I came across something called Plastic Free Community. So if you move on to the next slide, or the second slide. So I came across something called Plastic Free Communities, and I always love being part of projects which I've kind of you can kind of join in something like, I mean, I love, for example, the Transition Network, and I've been involved in Transition Town projects for quite a long, about 10 years now. But I always love this idea of kind of working with something with communities. And so I came across something called Plastic Free Communities, which is really great because it's run by Surfers Against Sewage, and there's all these groups all over the country. So you don't have to feel alone part of these, you don't have to feel like you're just doing this by yourself. You're part of a wider network. And so these Plastic Free Communities is these communities. So there's now over 800 communities all over the country who are getting together in their own communities and bringing the community together to tackle the issue of single-use plastic. And obviously, the David Attenborough film was like, back a couple of years ago, that kind of really woke people up to issues around plastic. But it's really great to see, these numbers of plastic-free communities kind of every month, the numbers kind of go up and go up and up and up. So, you don't have to be part of a seaside town anywhere on the coast to kind of be concerned about plastic, because single-use plastic is everywhere. So you can move on to the next slide. So obviously, like, in terms of kind of general issues of plastic, plastic can be very, very useful. It's good for sort of medicine, or it's good for sort of storing things, or recycling. It's cheap, it's easy, simple to use. And obviously it's just, it can, I think that one of the questions I always get is, oh, but you're called Plastic Free Chesterfield. Why? But then, so are you against people using single-use plastic in the NHS or something? And I'm saying, well, no, because there are some plastics that are useful. So although we're called Plastic Free Chesterfield, we're not against all plastic. We're against single-use, pointless plastics. Because some plastics definitely can be useful, and they definitely can save lives and can be very, very useful indeed. So if you move on to the next slide. So yes, we've produced like around 8.3 billion metric tons of plastic since the 1950s. So we're just sort of swimming in plastic, really. And obviously, all the films and David Attenborough sort of helped to kind of really reveal that. However, but it tends to sort of focus a lot on the issues around plastic in the ocean, obviously, and that's kind of really a big thing. And I think this is the thing, like, people say, why, like, Chesterfield's like a million miles away from the sea, so why are you running a plastic-free campaign? But actually, as soon as kind of plastic, we've got kind of rivers and canals and things, so any plastics that kind of get into our sort of water streams, then it does eventually make its way to the sea. So, we may be miles away from the sea, but we're still generating huge numbers of single-use plastics. So if you move on to the next slide. So, so the UK uses around 38.5 million single-use plastic bottles every day. And obviously that's probably kind of reduced since COVID maybe, but now people are kind of getting back out again. It's, we still see huge issues with plastic bottles, and we're seeing like huge amounts. Also, we're seeing these kind of bottles end up on the coastlines, and there's now about 159 plastic bottles for every mile of beach in the UK. And as not only these plastic bottles, we're seeing things like 2.5 billion coffee cups used every year, and obviously these coffee cups, people think, oh, what's the problem with coffee cups? Well, they're lined with single-use plastic. They're lined with plastic on, so you can't. They're just very, very difficult to recycle. And we have seen some, like, for example, Costa are kind of trying to kind of encourage sort of recycling on some of them, and I have seen sort of coffee cup recycling places around. But well, there's no point of Costa having a coffee cup recycling station in the coffee shop, because people are going out, people are going out getting the drink and then going off and walking out, so they're not going to come all the way back just to recycle it. So there is a serious issue with single-use coffee cups as well. And also as well, plastic bags as well, there's a real issue with that. And obviously the government, as we've now seen with plastic bags, we've seen around, there's now like a 10p charge on for supermarket or shops to use sort of plastic bags. However, there's so many issues with plastic bags in terms of like, for example, in supermarkets, people are now using bags for life as they're using those as actual single-use plastic bags. So they're actually meant to be called bags for life, and yet people forget to take them out with them, and they're just using them kind of, they just forget their bag, they go to the supermarket and, oh, can I have a bag for life? And then it's, so we're seeing record numbers of bags for life going, and they're actually, and the bags for life are actually made of stronger plastic, which means it's, for example, it's more oil used to kind of to make the plastic, more carbon intensive, these sort of bags for life. And so, we have a serious issue. We really, and we're supporting a campaign to actually try and actually ban plastic bags and bags for life, because this is a real issue. And obviously, like 8 million pieces of plastic are entering the sea, and this is a real issue, is that the 100,000 marine mammals and turtles and million seabirds that are killed by plastic pollution as well. So if you move on to the next slide, obviously everyone's seen, if everyone's seen these kind of pictures of wildlife caught up in plastic and things, really, and there's, and it really is shocking. And obviously, like a lot of the time you sort of see it as, again, it's an issue by the sea. Why are you campaigning on single-use plastic if there's, we're near the sea? But it's like, it does enter the sea. Like we work quite closely with an organisation called Don Catchment Rivers Trust, and they do river cleans, and they come every week. They come across more. They're going out into the river and they're cleaning the rivers, and they come across more and more plastic in the rivers. And we also have, sort of litter picking groups that kind of run, we've run sort of litter picking sessions down by the sort of the canal rivers and things. And there's just so much litter around. And the problem is that that we're seeing so many brands of, like, we're seeing the big brands producing all this plastic pollution, and they're not taking any responsibility for it. So there is going to be something coming in next year where we're going to see a plastic pollution tax, and there's going to be more kind of looking at it, trying to kind of make the producers responsible for what they're doing as part of the environment bill as well, going through Parliament. But we need to kind of address this situation, and we need to kind of choose to reuse. We need to kind of switch away from single-use plastic, and we need to, if you look at, like, we always sort of look at the 3 R's, like reduce, reuse, and recycle, whatever. And a lot of the time, like, everyone's always talking about, like, we need to recycle more, but actually, like, look at the 3 R's. It's like, well, we'll reduce and reuse away before we recycle. So actually, we need to reduce and we need to reuse. And I always like to add one above that, which is refill. And we're seeing, like, kind of an increase in zero waste shops set up, and this is a really exciting time, because there's such a great opportunity now to kind of, rather than kind of buying plastic packaging, is to kind of head to your local zero waste shop and to refill. And you can refill things like washing up liquid, dishwasher tablets or dishwasher powder. You can use all sorts, like not only that, but not only cleaning products, but you can also refill things like herbs, spices, pasta, rice, all sorts of everything, really. And this is what's just absolutely amazing, these zero waste shops. So obviously what we're trying to do is, if you move on to the next slide, we're encouraging, so obviously we're working with the community to try and reduce their single-use plastic. We've signed up lots of businesses, so we've signed up over about 70 businesses in Chesterfield who are making at least a couple of swaps away from single-use plastic. And when they do that, they can kind of get an award as a business for actually making these plastic-free swaps. But it's not just businesses that can get involved. We're working with the whole community, and we're working with things like community groups, community centres, and churches make up a big part of the community. And so we're trying to kind of engage with everyone really, to kind of help them with sort of plastic-free swaps and things that they can do. So so we're looking at so here's a number of kind of things that people can do. So like we've got like the first one is about using washing up cloths made out of loofah, rather than, you look at the standard cheap plastic washing up scourers and washing up pads and stuff like that. It's just more plastic. So you can use things like loofah, and that's, you can actually compost things like that loofah after it's being used. So that's really great. So you can do things like wooden scourer brushes rather than scourer pads, as I was saying. You've got reusable cloths rather than just sort of, just plastic lined wipes. And obviously during COVID, we saw an increase in sort of the single-use wipes. And that's, that was just kind of generating more of an issue really, because we need to kind of, like I said, we need to kind of reuse, because if you can, you can just use your antibacterial spray, and you can use reusable cloth. We don't need more plastic wipes. We saw there's been some TV programs investigating issues around tea bags, and they found plastic in tea bags now, and some of the big tea manufacturers now sort of trying to switch away from using plastic in their tea bags. So we always sort of say try loose tea, or there's lots of different things, and there's local zero waste shops are really supportive as well, because you can say, oh, what would you advise? Or I've seen even examples like reusable tea bags where you can use loose tea and you can put it in a tea bag, and all sorts of stuff really. So there's loads of options out there, but if you can't use loose tea, then at least go for the plastic-free tea bags. So obviously, instead of kind of using cling film, you can use things like beeswax wraps or vegan wraps, or you can just use Tupperware boxes. We don't need cling film. It's a complete waste of time. It's a complete pointless plastic. We just don't need it. We were what were we using before cling film? Just use a box or container or something. We don't need cling film. And then things like milk, like you can order from, there seems to be a rise now in glass bottled milk, and it's, we're seeing the rise of the milkman, and the milkman never went away. The milkman's been here for years, but we're now seeing, more people switching to kind of glass bottled milk because they're concerned about plastic. And I've, personally myself, I'm trying to switch to sort of plant-based options now. I'm kind of getting oat milk in glass bottles now. So there's so many options. As I was saying before about kind of dishwasher powder, like just buy it in bulk, buy it loose, or sort of the plastic-free dishwasher tablets as well. As I've mentioned as well before about washing up liquid, like I at home have like a 5 litre one that I order from my zero waste shop that I decant into it, because it's better to have a 5 litre one that you can just send back to your zero waste shop, refill it up for you, and then you've kind of got, especially it's good for churches as well, because you can get these kind of 5 litre containers, just refill it up. And it's not just washing up liquid that you can use for that as well, but hand soap or antibacterial spray, or anything like cleaning liquid or anything like that really. So like, as I said about hand soap and stuff like that as well. So there's lots of little things that churches can do, like to reduce the single-use plastic. And if you go on to the next slide, there's lots of ideas on our website. We've got some ideas on our website for different groups they can use. And then the next slide as well, as it was mentioned earlier about Eco Church. As part of Eco Church, there are in the building section of Eco Church, there's something about using cleaning products that are environmentally friendly that was mentioned earlier, and the question 18 as well in buildings, as well as about questioning about disposables as well. So that's kind of something as well. So obviously, and I think there's kind of a lot of, we can kind of touch on in a bit really about the kind of issues around sort of biodegradable and compostable and things. But, you know, I will sort of say choose to reuse rather than kind of going for sort of the biodegradable options, because even some, there's a lot of greenwashing that takes place where, yeah, they're just something that says it's biodegradable, but a year later it tends to be not, because it has to be industrially composted, or it just doesn't break down in the conditions it needs high heat to break down. So there is definitely a lot of greenwashing going on. So if you move on to the next slide, so there's obviously, so as I was saying, we're working with the local community, and as I was saying, we were awarding businesses for their actions, and they get a little certificate and plaque, but also we work with communities as well. And in terms of the community side of things, the plastic-free communities, we are working, we want community groups such as churches and schools and all sorts of kind of charities and groups and things to sign the Plastic Free Pledge. And the Plastic Free Pledge says that you can take, as a church, you can take the Plastic Free Pledge, just like the Eco Church really, but it's a Plastic Free Pledge, and you sign a little piece of paper and you say, we as a church, we are taking the Plastic Free Pledge, and we are going to be reducing our single, we make a pledge. Not right now, like we don't have to do it right now, but at least we're making a pledge now to at least reduce our single-use plastic that we use. We're going to start looking at using, refilling our washing up liquid or something like that, and not only so we can do that, but also as part of the pledge is about just kind of communicating that. So on your website or on your Facebook or social media, you can say, we've signed up to the Plastic Free Pledge, we're reducing our single-use plastic, and the important thing is we support the local plastic free group, or this kind of thing, and just raising awareness really. So if you hold an event or something, you can say, here's our plastic, you can put it, once you sign the Plastic Free Pledge, you can put it up and display it. So any public events that you do, you can say, you can talk about it to the public as well, and just say, we're supporting, we're trying to do our best to reduce single-use plastic in our church. So move on to the next slide. And then, we've got lots of different, we've got over 70 organizations in Chesterfield who are reducing their single-use plastic. We're working with like the Chesterfield Museum, we've got like community groups, we're working with schools, but we've signed up lots of different organizations, like 70 different community organizations. And because of what we've been doing to reduce single-use plastic in the community, Chesterfield has been awarded a plastic-free community status by Surface Against Sewage. So in May this year, we got an award for all our actions to engage the community on reducing single-use plastic. But just because we have a status doesn't mean we're giving up, because we're still seeing huge amounts of single-use plastic. There's loads more that we're doing. We're engaging our MP, we're working with our local council. Last month we put on a plastic-free festival to kind of try and raise awareness about issues. And and we want to sort of we're kind of working locally, but we're also working nationally as well. So we're trying to influence policy. So what's really great is that a couple of weeks ago, the government announced that they're going to be banning single-use plastic cutlery and polystyrene cups and plastic plates as well, which is really, really great. And so, it's down to groups like the Plastic Free community groups who are pressuring government to build to sort of we need action on this nationally. We need these laws in place. We need it all comes down to like the environment bill as well in Parliament. We want to make companies responsible. We want to make companies pay for the waste that they create. We can't just keep generating more and more plastic. Plastic is made of oil, and we are in a climate emergency where we need to do something, and we can't just keep producing more and more pointless plastic. We've got to do something about it. So we need to turn the tap off at the source. We can't just keep litter picking, and just try and focus on the cleanup. We have to focus on the source. We have to turn off the tap at the source. We have to get these laws in place. Countries all over the world are banning single-use plastics because of the impact on the environment. And we can do the same here. We can work locally in our community, and we can make a difference, and we can all do something to reduce our single-use plastic. So thanks very much.